August 1943. New York Harbor, just before sunrise. A grey troopship eases toward the pier, its hull streaked with rust and salt. Along the railings stand hundreds of exhausted German soldiers in faded field grey uniforms, craning their necks for their first real glimpse of the United States. They expect ruins, chaos, maybe long breadlines and bomb damage like the cities they left behind in Europe. Instead, the harbor wakes beneath them like a living machine. Cranes swing in every direction, loading and unloading cargo without pause. Tugboats churn through the water, weaving between merchant ships and warships, as if the harbor itself is running at full attack speed. Warehouses stretch into the distance, block after block of brick and steel. Smokestacks push dark columns up into the morning sky, not from burning cities, but from factories and power plants. The air hums with engines, whistles, clanging metal, and shouted orders. One POW grips the railing tighter. This does not look like a country on its knees. They disembark under guard, lined up in neat files on the pier. American MPs stand watch, uniforms crisp, rifles slung, faces calm rather than vengeful. Trucks and jeeps roar past, still coated in dust from training or conv duty. Behind them, a train already waits on tracks that run right up to the docks, a steel vein ready to carry them inland. The efficiency is unnerving. In Germany, rail lines are bombed, jammed, delayed. Here, everything moves. As the train pulls out, the German soldiers press against the windows. Hour after hour, tracks cut through an unbroken landscape of industry and order. They pass marshalling yards crowded with freight cars. They see long lines of tank cars and boxcars stretching farther than the eye can follow. In the distance, smokestacks mark more factories, more mills, more power. Towns appear and vanish, each one with gas stations, shops, houses with porches, cars in driveways. No rubble, no craters, no burnt-out skeletons of buildings. People walk the streets with shopping bags, not buckets of water pulled from broken mains. On the train, the POWs are given food, real food. Thick slices of bread, meat, potatoes, coffee strong enough to keep even the most exhausted soldier awake. A few stare at their plates, then at each other. Some mutter that it must be for show, some propaganda display. But the guards eat the same food, bored and casual. This, they realize slowly, is normal here. Days later, they arrive at a POW camp in the middle of America, maybe in Texas, maybe in Kansas, maybe in Georgia. They expect barbed wire and brutality. The barbed wire is there, the guard towers too, but what catches them off guard is everything else. Rows of wooden barracks, a mess hall, a small infirmary, a chapel, a recreation field marked out for soccer and baseball. They are registered, examined by doctors, issued clean clothes and basic toiletries. One sergeant turns to another and whispers, "If this is how they treat prisoners, how do they treat their own?" Work details begin. Some are sent to help harvest crops on farms short of labor. Others cut timber, clear brush, unload freight, or perform simple tasks in nearby factories. Under the Geneva Convention, they must be paid, and they are, small wages credited to their names. On farms, they see tractors and combines running from dawn to dusk, fuel tanks full, spare parts readily available. Barns are stocked. Fields are wide and rich. There is no sense of scraping by. In the factories, the shock deepens. They watch assembly lines stamping out parts at a relentless pace. Workers, men too old or young for combat, and women in overalls with hair tied back in scarves, move with practiced rhythm. There is noise and heat and motion, but very little chaos. Parts become components, components become engines, engines become trucks or tanks or aircraft. And when a machine fails, another waits to take its place. There is always a replacement. There is always a spare. One evening, a group of POWs sits at a table in the barracks, their dinner trays empty, their hands still smelling faintly of oil and metal. "In Germany," one says quietly, "we strip damaged vehicles for parts because the factories cannot keep up. Here," he trails off, remembering shelves of brand new components lined up in neat rows. Here, another finishes. They build faster than we can destroy. Letters home are censored, but hints slip through. The country is large, a son writes to his parents. There is much here. Another writes, the Americans, they have everything. Some families back in Germany do not believe it. It sounds like fantasy compared to ration cards and bomb shelters. But the soldiers who have seen the truth feel a weight settling in their chests that no propaganda can lift. Life in the camp is not comfortable in the sense of home, but it is stable. There is regular food, medical care, even occasional entertainment, music, books, sometimes a film shown on a sheet hung against a wall. Guards enforce rules, but they are not driven by hatred. They are doing a job, and the job is not revenge. That, more than anything, unnerves some prisoners. A desperate, cornered nation would not waste kindness on enemy soldiers. One POW who worked near a shipyard later recalled watching Liberty ships and cargo vessels glide down launching ways into the water, one after another. We thought our U-boats ruled the sea, he wrote, but they were trying to hold back a tide that never stopped coming. Slowly, quietly, a realization spreads through the barracks. Germany is brave, Germany is disciplined, but Germany is small compared to this. Every train yard they glimpsed from the windows, every field thick with crops, every factory spitting out engines and aircraft parts, every ship sliding into the ocean. Each one is another answer to the question they had not dared to ask. Can we actually win? By the time many of these men hear about setbacks on the Eastern Front, about Allied bombing raids growing heavier, about landings in Italy, they are no longer surprised. The map they carry in their heads has changed. It is no longer Europe-centered. It now includes the continent they have seen with their own eyes, a place that seems to run on an endless flow of steel, fuel, and willpower. For some, the war truly ends in their minds, not in 1945, but the moment they step off the ship in New York Harbor and see the cranes moving and the trains waiting. For others, it ends in a field in Texas, wiping sweat from their brows as they look across a horizon of fertile land and working machines. For others still, it ends at a factory gate as they watch another convoy of trucks roll out, loaded with supplies going somewhere they will never see. Years later, when they return to a shattered Germany, their stories sound unbelievable. They talk about camps with libraries, about guards who shared cigarettes, about farms with more food than some German towns, about factories that never seemed to sleep. Not everyone believes them, but those who were there know the truth. They did not just lose a war of battles. They lost a war against a country that could fight at full power and still have more in reserve. And many of them realized it the day they arrived in America and saw, with their own eyes, that the war they were still fighting had already been decided.